Energy. It is all around us, both seen and unseen. It affects all the lives within humanity, our great planet Earth, and the entire universe. It is a conscious cosmic matrix, an ever-evolving cycle, creating, breaking down, and recreating. This is Connected with your host, Andrea Dragonfly. Andrea tells us that energy is the foundation of our human experience, intrinsically affecting every facet of our lives, our perceptions, choices, and actions, as well as the challenges, opportunities, and people we attract. So now, please welcome the host of Connected, Andrea Dragonfly.
Hey, good people, welcome. I am your host, Andrea Dragonfly, and this is the show Connected. Happy New Year. What a way to start our new year. I'm not quite sure what's going on in all of your lives since, you are all over the planet or all over North America or wherever. However, here I've been moving around a little bit. I am right outside of Los Angeles in a little town called Ojai, little artist community, kind of secluded up in this little valley. But I have been witnessing these crazy California fires that are absolutely changing the landscape of like these iconic neighborhoods and what we know Los Angeles to be. And so for me, it's been an incredibly wowing, I guess, experience to be here, to be so close, to be looking at my phone to see how the winds are blowing. And I am north of where everything is, but I've been connected to my people and my family, and just knowing that, that the weather, the seasons, the winds that are happening right now are just so intense, and the smoke and everything. So it's been a whirlwind already, and we are just coming into the second week of the new year. So, and of course, the cold spell that has gone across, especially the United States, and North America here. I haven't been spending too much time looking at what's going on a global level, but I know that we are kicking this year off strong with change, with like, okay, everybody, we're going to shake some things up. And so this is the conversation we're going to be having tonight, as I bring some of these different ideas, these themes that are coming up for the year. And as you know, for those who have been following me especially, I'm not an astrologer. I have been, of course, dabbling in astrology for 30 years. I've been, getting my astrology newsletters. I've been following along on, the YouTube and all those types of things. And I always love at the very end of December, I like to do my 2020, whatever, 5 forecasts. What's going to be, coming up for us in this new year? What can we expect, right? And so as we dive into this, I wanted to just talk about how, I'm going to go ahead and post under my media and where I have resources, several different resources as to where I have been getting my information over time, right? So different astrologers, some of them are on YouTube. One of them is a website where I get their newsletter. And so I'm going to really kind of redirect you back there. And I was looking at trying to put all of that on my website before we started today. However, everything is just a little crazy. So even my website is like, not saving certain things. And so it just feels like I'm in this place. I feel like I'm in a twilight zone is kind of where I'm at right now. So I don't know how your new year's starting off for you, but mine is definitely very interesting. Now, we are also just coming out of the 12 holy nights. And I talked about how the 12 holy nights are also kind of connected to astrology. and about the 12 holy nights represent in now of course there's many interpretations, and again I just want to start with the basics. With this show is about introducing information to you. It's about bringing forth ideas and concepts that are all around us. Sometimes it's from hidden knowledge or ancient wisdom that's been buried and hidden and whatnot, that's now beginning to surface, because this is the time for us to start to become more aware of this, that what we have been taught is only just a piece of the truth, and that our origin stories are not actually accurate. But those are things that we're going to be actually being presented with throughout this year, not just with me, but innumerable sources. We're going to start seeing this show up in all sorts of different places, so that you could be, so that you're going to get this information, and you're going to be able, again, the invitation is take this information and bring it into your field, bring it into your mindset, and begin to swirl it around energetically and feel into it. Notice, where are you resisting? Or notice how maybe your body's saying, yes, 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 I've been waiting for this. I'm ready for this, and I can't absorb enough. Like you're a sponge, as like when we're children, or our own children, having children, that baby mind, that first 5 years is the sponge, just sponging in every little piece of what it is to be alive in the world, as a small child. So here we are, we're getting this new information that will be showing up from this. Of course, it's been showing up, but I think that we're going to get a lot more of it in different platforms through media and whatnot. So be prepared, because again, this is about trying it on, especially when it feels uncomfortable. Try it on and be like, oh, this is a new style. It's not my normal style. Can I actually kind of shift into being good with this style? And this is a style of information, right? I'm thinking about style of clothing. I'm kind of associating it when I say try it on, hey, I'm stretching, I'm growing, I'm learning, I'm evolving, right? So all of this is about the evolution of ourselves. And again, I will be using, I say this, I think probably every show, at least recently, language. If there's something within, the show tonight that I say that you are like, wow, I don't really know what that means, you are welcome, depending on what platform you're watching this on. This is a live show. There is a phone number at the top of the screen. You're welcome to call in and ask questions. I mean, of course, over the evolution of the show, you can actually, it almost seems like you can call in at any time now if you wanted to. I've not had a caller in yet, and I'm totally okay with that. But I'm certainly open and welcoming that for sure, if that is something that somebody wants to be brave or courageous enough to do. Otherwise, you can get on Facebook, and you can, well, if you're watching it through the Facebook link, you can also send comments and things like that, and we can pick it up on this side, and I can answer any of those questions. So, looking at the 12 Holy Nights, again, different belief systems, especially Christianity. Of course, this is about, the Christ and the Jesus Christ and the Christ Jesus, and however you want to call, Jesus Christ, right? And about the 12 Holy Nights. And there will be different interpretations. I invite you to do research, find out what those different interpretations are. I don't know all of them. I know some. But I was really talking about them in our last show. So I was doing a little bit of a review from last show, and bringing in the 12 nights was really about the astrology, and about how in those 12 nights, it's almost like we take one of like we start with Aries, right? And that creates the theme of almost like January of what we're going to be bringing in to our new year. I also spoke about the 12 nights being similar to, hold on, let me think about this for a second, because I just threw myself off for a second there. Well, yeah, I'm looking at it from the 12 Holy Nights as a representation of what we can expect in our life. I was talking about the difference between us going through a cycle of 1 year, the 12 months of our own evolution, and it also can be connected to a whole lifetime. So last show, I spoke at some point about how the 12 Holy Nights is it's kind of like the test of humanity. It's what we go through to throughout our lifetime. It's what we learn. It's how we evolve, right? And so we're going to be tested with certain types of events. And we are going to be tested a lot in this year. This year in itself, 2025, is going to be one of those years that's going to be a year-long event in one way or another. And with the astrology, we can look back. It's even in the astrology, it says that this is going to be one of those years that's going to go down in history, that we're going to remember, like, the housing crisis of 2008. This is going to be where life shifted in our normalcy. Like, it's, everything we once knew is no longer going to be the same with 2025. So that's what we're coming into. And with those holy nights, again, bringing it back in, Aries is that first sign of the zodiac. And so it's like how we come in, it's the youngest sign. And I said, I'm not an astrologer, but I have, certainly spent time being with astrology to know enough. And again, I'll post all of that on my media site for you guys to look deeper into. But then within, so after Aries, we then move into Taurus. And then, Taurus, we move into Gemini. And so as we go through these different zodiac signs, we're going through the year, the 12 months, and we're learning how each one of these signs really kind of evolves us, because each one is working on something different about ourselves. And that's why we're so complex. We all have, we have our sun sign, but we have all of these we have our moon sign, we have our ascending, we have where all of these planets are in these different houses. And it's very complicated. And I love it, but I certainly don't know enough, but I certainly use some of it when I work with clients, and I will look at your chart, and I can't give you a full-on reading because that's not my area of expertise, but I can really look to see, what did you come in for? It's your blueprint, it's your map, it's your story, it's what you're coming here to do. And we can look at that and how it shows up, right? So again, that 12 Holy Nights is really the journey, almost like, the journey of what it is to be human, and how we go through, all of the trials and tribulations of, of our growth. So, which puts us perfectly into the new year, and then we begin. So that 12, Holy Nights begins, some people, for some beliefs, it starts on the night of the 24th, and others it starts on the 26th. And so, I don't know, it's confusing sometimes. So, and of course, I'm using my hands. I'm noticing I'm all about using my hands. So, and of course, I'm also I'm showing up. I'm showing up as myself. When I first started the show, I was like, oh, I have to wear, like decent clothes. And of course, these are decent clothes, but it's my hoodie, right? And then I was like, experimenting with makeup. And sometimes I wear makeup, but most of the time I don't like makeup, because makeup, like, I have an allergy. It creates, all sorts of like reaction in my eyes. And so I'm not wearing makeup. It's a new year. This is like rebellion year. I'm part of the rebellion of the old way. Well, welcoming in the new way, because this is what I think that we've all been waiting for. This is why many of us, and if you're watching this show, this is what we came in for. We came in for this change. And this is the change that, again, is ushering us into a new humanity. Some people talk about this as the new earth. or the new world. Well, I think it's more like the new earth. And within the new earth, we are actually really shifting in to a new way in which we're going to be operating as our norm, which is why I've been talking about, shifting out of the old ways, everything that we've known up until this point for hundreds of years is going to look different. And we also know that with AI, and AI that's coming in, and oh my goodness, chat GPT, and so many things that are here to help us, but we're going to also have to experience the cost of what that is. And we're moving into this time with Pluto moving into Aquarius. And if you don't know all those, like the planets and the signs, that's okay. You don't have to, but you have to do what I invite you is to really embrace the themes. Because with Pluto moving into Aquarius, this really comes back to the people. And we're going to be tested and challenged, especially in this next year, in ways where we are really kind of shifting, and we're moving out as a people. Now this is on the collective level, and I also am fully aware that there are so many people still fully kind of like asleep to consciousness, that are really just all about the me concept. And excuse me, I'm gonna I have a little bit of a cough going on, so hold on for a second while I just take a quick sip and clear my throat. I'm doing a lot of purging, and a lot of things are coming out. And when I say things coming out, mostly I'm talking about emotions, I'm talking about shifts and changes, all the things. And so this seems to be one of those things that are just kind of like coming through for me. Thank you. Sorry about that. But we're looking at these, the shifts of changes, this new era that's coming in, that's no longer just about the me. And this is also with astrologically, the nodes are changing. So the north and the south node, they're moving from the Aries Libra signs into Pisces Virgo. And so the north node is going into Pisces, south node into Virgo. Now, that may or may not mean anything to you at this moment, but what it really represents is that we're moving out of the me of the Aries, and we're moving into the we of the Pisces. And no, these nodes will last about 18 months in these signs. And so we're going to this is how we kind of get moving. It's the push. It's the preparation. It's kind of like, okay, how do we do this? How are we going to really shift collectively as a humanity, as a people? And so we go through these periods of time that really kind of pressurize us. It's almost like, being put into the oven. Like, I've been using these analogies of baking. It's like you put all your different ingredients in, and the ingredients are actually all these planetary alignments. It's the pressure, it's the uncomfortability, it's the shift and changes that are changing us. And you kind of mix it all up, and then you put it into the oven. We're making a cake or something, making some sort of something that you put into the oven, and then you put the heat in and that begins to reshape us, right? It's going to bring us into something. And of course there's the diamond in the rough analogy, where that diamond that needs to be pressurized, needs to be heated, it needs to be squeezed for that diamond to actually be formed. And this is what we're going to be doing this year. We're going to be squeezed in new ways that that are going to really make us uncomfortable. At the very beginning of the show, episode 1, I said, there is no coincidence this show is coming at this time. So for like 9 months, I have been sharing information to help us kind of really be able to flow with what's about, what's coming down, what's coming our way. And so within that, with that, we are going to, of course, really connect into our allies. And I started bringing them forward right before the holiday, and I will be bringing them forward more so in the next weeks to come as well, because we're going to be needing them. Now, we're at a point where I'm going to take a quick break. And when, give me 2 minutes, do whatever you need to do. When we get back, we're going to go ahead and dive into a little bit more of what we can expect for what this year holds for us. So I'll see you back here in 2. Thanks.
What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick, Wednesdays 7 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave Media Network and TuneIn Radio. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them. We discover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
All right, welcome back. Thank you. So again, I mentioned that I am doing a little bit of traveling right now, and it's been, first of all, I'm just incredibly grateful that I get to have this pretty incredible life. And it doesn't always come easy. I've had to be tested and tried in so many different ways as to being able to trust, putting my trust out there, believing in that, believing in what I'm doing, right? And a lot of times it's like, well, what am I even doing? Of course, part of what I'm doing is I'm bringing, seeds of consciousness, just being able to say, hey, please, not just even please, hey, here's some information, and, do with it what you will. Let it inform you, let it open you. And of course, with my energy work as an energy healer. I spent my whole life in public health and being trained with herbs and natural health and medicine, working with wisdom teachers from everything from, my background is in anthropology and working with community, working with health, working with physical health of herbs, and being able to take our own power back. And how are we going to take care of our bodies? That we don't need actual medication so much. I mean, the true teachers say I don't want to say the true teachers, excuse me, but I'm going to say that in many of these alternative health modalities of Western herbs and Chinese herbs and all of the things, is that we only really need to go see a doctor or to go to the hospital when we need surgery or we have broken body parts, right? That everything else is something that we can do on our own with other knowledgeable people, of course, if that's not your area, but also working on the emotions and the mindset. My whole life, the last 30 years, has been working with the soul, which is not something that psychology normally looks at as well. What is the soul? And you know that, if you watched any of these shows or listened to them earlier on, I talk about the physical body, the emotional body, the mental body, the soul body. And then there's the spirit body. And so being able to plant the seeds of consciousness to help evolve, to help grow, to help shift in how we see the world ahead of us, how we can actually adapt, how we can find our power, that personal power, empowerment that allows us to navigate the craziness of this world, because, it's only going to get crazier. And so within that, I'm traveling. I'm here right now for a few weeks, and then I'll be back in the big island of Hawaii. I'm still finding my place there. So I found this little tiny, almost like a broom closet of a studio, which is going to be lovely for the time that I'm there to start to figure out where I need to go. So when I get back, I'll be there. Yet there is this transition, and it's the transition of, of course, it's the new year. We're all going through really big transitions. And I recognize that even in the name Dragonfly, which has come to me for 30 years, is all about transitions. And so transitions seem to be my theme. It's like I've helped people through life and death transitions. Transitions is, I feel like, not that I feel like, it's just almost as if we all know what, our purpose and mission are. And I feel that my purpose and my mission has always been about transition. And the innumerable ways we do that. And life is all about transitions. And especially when, even on my website, I have, Dragonfly Passages is my company's name. And it's about, evolving through these life transitions, how we go through it. How can we really embrace it? So we're looking at how do we embrace change? Because that's the one thing that we can always count on is change. Life is impermanent, that it will always evolve, and that we will have these moments in our lives. We can think about the good old times when this was happening, or that time of, the summer of love, or whatever, right? Like however our lives have shaped us, the time when you were in college, or maybe you were in the military, or maybe you were, who knows where, traveling, and, some subculture, like I did with the Renaissance Festival at a period of time, so there's always these different parts of our lives that have shaped us and grown us. And here we are, no matter where you are, we're in another transition. And with that transition, it's okay. When we can begin to shift the way we see things, it's not black or white. It's not this or that. We want to move into the both and. It's this and more, right? And so even when I introduce ideas and concepts, information, whatever, and even though there are innumerable ways to share information, right? Like we got to find the people that we can resonate with, right? And so even I bring this certain information, you're going to get 100 other people, 1,000, 1,000,000 other people saying, we'll all be talking about the same thing, but we're all going to have a different angle, a different perspective, a different way we share that. And it's all going to be kind of layered into one another, which is why I'm always encouraging to get more information, layer it up, build it, create that, the layers of what really can allow you to sit back and be in the, yes, I can see the bigger picture here. I know that there's something that is forming here. Now remember, everything that's happening is happening for us to evolve. It's happening for us to grow. Every time we're uncomfortable, we're in a growth process. And we have to look at what is it that is making me uncomfortable. So if you are maybe normally a more of a introverted person, more of a quiet person, more of a watcher, and don't speak up as much, you may be presented with innumerable opportunities where you may need to stand up for yourself, right? Or whatever. I mean, that doesn't mean that everybody who's introverted and doesn't speak up has that issue, but I'm just using this as a example. I'm just thinking of this as an example because we're so complex. We're so complex. We all have these different parts and pieces around us, but it's that uncomfortability. It's that part of us that's always being tested. And if we're feeling at all within ourselves, oh, I don't like that. I don't like the way that person is communicating with me, talking to me, giving me directive, whatever it is. This is our opportunity for us, and I'm speaking collectively, clearly when I say us, right? To step into into that place to address it. But it's also, how do we address it? If we address it passive aggressively, we're not actually growing. We're kind of contributing to the problem. So again, how do we do it in a way that's empowering? How do we do it in a way that allows us to actually be seen and heard and received, which for many of us tends to be, I'm going to even say within my own life, I can own that one. That's tend to been a challenge within my own trajectory, is how do I speak in a way that can really be received, where I can be really understood and seen? Because oftentimes I've had a very alternative life. And when we all come together, we actually filter information in based on what we know. And if we don't know alternative lives and we know more of a mainstream life, but that alternative life, kind of like doesn't make sense or whatever, I'm not going to be understood in the same way. But sometimes, so this is where we ask the questions. Tell me more about that. Tell me more about that. How do, but here's the thing. We all are fascinating, and even no matter what our lives are, they're always going, even with our partners, even with our siblings, we're going to have different experiences no matter what, right? So how do we learn how to step into these places within ourselves to be able to stand and feel confident, feel like we can ask for what we want? It doesn't mean we're going to get it, but it means that we're at least starting the process of asking for it. And, and we have to figure out, okay, well, I'm going to go from this angle. I'm going to go from this angle. Because what about, because as I'm saying, we're coming into change. And one thing that I would say, most people don't really like change, right? We struggle with change on a collective level. Change is uncomfortable. We don't necessarily know how to do that. We know the old pattern. We know what's familiar, right? So this is going to be unfamiliar. Now, the thing about this year and why it's so monumental and why it's going to be known throughout history is because we have in the astrology these outer planets. Now, we all know, because I've been talking about it, Pluto just moved from Capricorn into Aquarius. And it's going to stay here for about 20 years, which is going to drastically change how we experience life, because it's going from Capricorn, which is very structurally oriented, into Aquarius, which is now going to be very community oriented. It's going to shape how those structures are going to be delivered. So if we think about business, like the business structure is going to be totally transformed. Pluto is the planet of, or dwarf star, or whatever you want to call it. My daughter said, Mom, Pluto's not a planet. I was like, whatever it is right now, right? Is it's the symbol of death and transformation. So the old ways are dying. What we've known and that we're coming into are dying. And now we're going to be transforming business. We're going to be transforming how we do things, the structures. And this is where the new world comes in, the new earth. It's going to look different. And that's just Pluto. That's the outer planet. And then what we have is we have Uranus. And so Uranus and Neptune are coming in, and they are, I think it's, and you're going to have to forgive me because I don't, again, this is not my area of expertise. So I think it's Neptune, Uranus, Pluto. Yes. Okay. So Uranus is coming in, and around July, it's shifting into a new sign that's going to be there for like 7 years. So I believe it's moving from, I have this written down. Let me pull it up. I think it's moving from Aries and it's going into Pisces. And I may be wrong, but this is why I'm going to have all of this posted on my thing. So let's see. No, I'm sorry. Uranus enters Gemini. There we go. And so here, let's see. So I talked a little bit about the nodes changing. And the nodes, the north node is about, so I'm gonna come back to all this, but the north node is happening right now. It's happening in January. And so the north node is where we're going. And the south node is kind of where we've been. So it's almost like the energy of the south node kind of starts to deflate, and the energy of our north node begins to inflate. And so so the nodes are moving into, again, I talked about Pisces as the north node. And so this is moving from Aries of the me into the we. So again, this is starting to bring us into this as well. So it's really this astrological setup that is really about to change us as a people, as humanity, because we're going to be pressurized, like that diamond I was talking about, or like that recipe that we just mixed all the ingredients and put into the oven, right? So that is happening. And then we have, let's see. And then we have Neptune entering Aries in March. We also have Saturn entering Aries in May, and they're going to hang out with each other for a little while. I think for like several, like up until 2026. So maybe not quite a full year, or maybe more. Again, I don't have all the astrology on this. And this is where really big things are going to be shifting. And so, so as these planets move into these different houses, we experience it completely different. It's going to look very new. How it feels within our own energy bodies is going to also depend on what our astrology charts even look like, right? So if you have, very early degrees of Aries in your chart, you're going to be feeling Neptune and Saturn kind of coming into Aries at that time. Jupiter comes into Cancer, and it's going to hang out there for a while. And so this is, again, how and why we're really moving into like this whole new experience of how we're going to be interacting with each other. This is a time about also community. So especially Aquarius, and as we're shifting, it's like, what does community even look like to you? What is your current, how are you connected to community? Or if you're not connected to community in a physical sense, maybe you're connected to an online community. Maybe you're connected to a gaming community, right? Because communities show up in different ways. And so this is really going to be a kind of an expansive energetic that brings us into a new level of community, the we. So we're going to be called to step forward, and we're going to be called, and especially those who are waking up and are on the conscious path. This is where we begin to come together in a whole new way. And that we begin to carry those who are just maybe waking up, or maybe who are very adamant about wanting to stay with the old way, the old structures, the old paradigm. They're not ready or wanting this change to happen. And that's of course going to happen. Of course, that's going to be happening. Now, I'm coming up to my break time right now. So I'm going to bring this back. I'm going to take a really quick break, take another glass of water, go to the bathroom, whatever it is that I need to do, whatever it is you need to do. So when we get back, if you have any questions, you're definitely welcome to put some comments in the comment section. But we're also going to dive into this a little bit more, and we're going to bring it into a little bit of a meditation, really kind of land it within ourselves as to how we can energetically begin this preparation for what's happening. So I'll see you back here in 2. Thanks.
Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality, but it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating? Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like, it was almost instant, like I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. It feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic on the BBM Global Network, Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of the Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on the Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Okay, welcome back. Okay, so as we're moving into this new year, I talked about how these outer planets, so Uranus is moving into Gemini. And when that happens in July, and there's a person that I'm going to be putting on my media site, and if not, you can also look him up. I believe his name is Stephen Judd Astrologer. Steve Judd Astrologer. He does an astrological forecast for 2025, and I really liked it. Now, I haven't actually really followed him in any way before, but how he presents, it's a shorter version. And of course, we all like the short version, right? Because we're busy people and we have things to do. Yet in this shorter version, he talks about Uranus moving into Gemini, and how, again, this is actually a sign where we are going to be experiencing some of the pressurization of the autocracy. Now, wherever you are, because I'm definitely been chatting with my Republican friends who are always just so fun. And of course, I sit on the fence, and I'm not Democrat or Republican, but I love to hear all the ideas of all the things, right? So, as a person who follows energy, right, and what's happening, there is that whole part about, Trump really being friends with, or I don't want to say friends, but, kind of kissing up to all of the dictators and, the autocracies that were, and that there's the talk about this autocracy that we're going to be moving into, and the Project 2025 piece that Trump's affiliated with. And so many people are like, no, that's not going to happen. Well, I think that once this happens in a couple weeks, people are going to really be awakened to possibly, how this really is an agenda of the me. And the me is the old way, which isn't really going to fly anymore, right? The old way is, I want you to do what I want you to do, right? I'm going to take away your rights of, to your body, which is something I'm always very passionate about. It's like, yeah, no, right? Like, men taking away women's rights to choose for themselves is just something that I find very interesting, to say the least. So we're going to be presented with a lot of things. And so come July, we're going to, when Uranus moves into Gemini, this is the time in history even where the Berlin Wall was even put up, and then at the same time actually taken down. So this is where very significant things that happened throughout history happened when Uranus was in Gemini. And so Steve Judd does a great job talking about it. So I'm going to leave it up to him to tell more about it. But this is the kind of stuff that we're going to be seeing. And again, even if you get off tonight and want to just Google that, looking at 2025 predictions for what's to come, even before, maybe you've already done this, so you're following along and recognizing, yeah, this is going to be one of those years that we will never forget. And it's also one of those times where we're going to have a lot of, Pam Gregory is another astrologer. Hers is a little bit longer. I think she goes over an hour and some talking about her predictions. She's got great information because she always talks about it on a collective level. She talks about how this is going to be, like, so much change is going to happen, but even like on a global level, with natural disasters, that there's going to be a lot more water, moving into Pisces, moving into these different signs that we already just experienced crazy floods, on the, in November, at the end of October, through hurricanes, right? The hurricane season was out of control. Well, even through March and April, we're looking at crazy weather patterns, far more flooding, and so we are going to be finding really uncomfortable extremes happening. And of course, we have these crazy winds, we have these fires out of control that some of them I don't believe are even contained yet. So this is the beginning. And, people are talking about it, how it feels like the apocalypse in a certain way. And I just kind of studied the apocalypse through Rudolf Steiner this last year. And which is, very different than, reading it in a Christian Bible. Of course, we looked at that too. And so we looked at how to understand what that even really means. And that we are being we're being pressurized at the very beginning to evolve. And that evolution does come with us having to make different choices about who are we going to be in the face of change. Are we going to live into fear, or are we going to live into our empowerment? And how do we step through fear? How do we face our fears? How do we look that fear in the eye and recognize what it's showing us about ourselves, and about how it's crucial and beautiful, and the opportunity for us to actually harness that fear and overcome it and say, yeah, no more. I'm not going to run from this fear anymore. I'm going to step into it. I'm going to say, no, I'm not afraid of you. I'm not afraid of change. I'm not afraid of what may come my way. I'm not afraid of the worst case scenario happening to me. When I think about the number of homes that are being burned right now as I speak to you, everything, right? Everything. There wasn't time. Well, I guess 2 days later, if you're in the burn, the flow of the winds, you can maybe grab your most essential pieces, most essential um, possessions. But otherwise, so many things you just have to let go. And so this is that time of change. And I don't want to necessarily say, the fire is going to be that which creates the change for everybody, but we're all going to have one, an element, the wind, the water, the fire, the earth, sinkholes, who knows, you know. Um, and what is that? What is your fear? What is your greatest fear? How do you want to overcome that? And so what I'd like to do at this moment, because there is so much change, is I'd like to just, with the time we have remaining, is bring us back into our inner space. So I'm going to invite everybody who's with me, who's listening, wherever you are, even if you're listening to this in the future on audio, whatever. If you're driving, be careful. But I just like to take a couple of regulatory breaths, just some nice deep breaths. I said regulatory breaths, but deep breaths, nice long exhales to regulate your energy, regulate your system. I invite you to close your eyes and really kind of come home into you, come into your heart space. I always bring everybody into the heart space. This is where I go when we meet our allies and our conscious energy beings and all that stuff. They love when we connect to our heart, right? Not our mind, not our root chakra. I mean, we can certainly be in all of it, but heart space is a great place to start. I just really invite you to be in your heart space and really tap in to what it is that you may fear most. What is your biggest fear? Which would come with change, right? Fear is something changing, shifting. Something happens, even. Change. And I invite you to really look at this fear. To the best of your ability. Meet it, face it. Invite it to just be in front of you. And to see it for what it is. I want you to feel this in your body. Where does this show up? Is it in your solar plexus, your heart space? Or maybe somewhere else in your body? Shoulder, knee. But I invite you to tell that fear that what you are meeting is that you can overcome this. That if this fear ever were to happen to you, that you would overcome it. That you would not need to fear it. that you have allies that will walk you through it. That even though it'll be uncomfortable, unwelcomed, but that you would grow from it. You would evolve with it. So being with that, inviting you, no matter what happens this year, with all the changes that will begin to unfold, know that whatever comes your way, you will be able to handle it. That you can reach out and find your people that will walk with you through this process. I invite you to come back into your body, come back into this space. Thank you for being with me this evening, whatever time you're receiving this. Thank you for being with me. It's always a pleasure. If you need anything to reach out, you can always connect with me through Facebook and Instagram at connected.dragonfly. You can find me at my website at Andrea Dragonfly, www.andreadragonfly.com. You can just reach out, connect with me in any way. If you need assistance getting through any of these challenges that come your way this year, I'm here. I can help you. I can walk with you. We can look at this from new directions, new perspectives. But I want you to know that you're not alone. We're all in this, and we're all in it together. And so I wish you an incredible year. Happy New Year. And we got this. We're all connected. Take care, you all, and I'll see you next week. Be well.
This has been Connected with your host, Andrea Dragonfly. Join Andrea each week on an extraordinary journey, exploring the consciousness of energy and how you are connected. Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave TV network.